Well, look on the screen. It's Gawwwd. At least that's one of his names. Why is he on the screen? What did they say? Let's see what he do. What he do? Oh, Mr. Ho. What he did, in my opinion, was a no. But why is Mr. Gawwwd on the screen? Again, that's one of his names.
Steve Bannon arrested on federal charges out of New York this
morning. Correction,
he's a Chinese billionaire with ties to Steve Bannon, arrested on federal charges out of New York.
So he has ties to Steve Bannon.
This morning.
And just a short time later, a fire coincidentally broke out inside the apartment where he was arrested. Fox 5's Chris Welch joins us live outside the Sherry Netherland Hotel. And do we know of any possible connection, Chris?
That's the big question at this hour, Steve and Natasha. Look, ordinarily, we wouldn't be doing a live report at this time of the show that we're talking about a fire that broke out with no injuries and that was extinguished in a relatively short amount of time. But this is the second time today that something newsy has happened at this exact building outside the Sherry Netherland Hotel. The FBI is confirming the apartment where the fire broke out. Listen to this. It's the same apartment where a Chinese billionaire and Steve Bannon associate was arrested just hours earlier in the day. U.S. attorneys with the Southern District of New York arrested Gawwwd, and that's just one of his names. He goes by at least 7 other aliases. They arrested him earlier this morning and hit him with several charges. Those charges include wire fraud, securities fraud, bank fraud, and money laundering. He's accused of misappropriating hundreds of millions of dollars in fraudulently obtained money. Now,
so Gawwwd is one of his names. How convenient. Arrested on federal charges. What? Wire fraud. Securities fraud. No. Is the SEC involved? Securities fraud. Bank fraud. No wonder these banks are going on, do you think? Could be a contributing factor. I guess Mr. Gawwwd is doing his part. But don't forget, the banks will be bailed out. Money laundering. And what? Misappropriating hundreds of millions. Hundreds of millions of dollars and fraudulently obtain money. So is he doing some funny things, you think, with the bank loan? Could that be it? Could he be doing some funny, fraudulent things with the bank loans? How are you getting this money? He doesn't have a shovel in the ground digging it. So how can you misappropriate hundreds of millions of dollars fraudulently obtained? How do you get the money up from the bank? Let me guess. I bet the paperwork might be a little shady. Isn't that what they were saying about the Chrisleys from the show? I bet the paperwork might be a little shady. So he fraudulently obtained hundreds of millions of dollars. That's how you steal, not with a gun, with the pen. You can steal more money with a pen and a smile, and especially if you got the complexion for the protection. You can steal a whole lot more money with the pen, more than with the gun any day of the week. Trust and believe. And you wonder how some wealth is obtained. Favors. That's how a lot of wealth is obtained. People getting favors. Preferential treatment. You see how what happened just now with the bailout. Who doesn't get it? When have you known an insurance company to say, okay, well, you're not insured. Guess what? Everybody that's not insured and you had a car accident or you can afford full coverage or you elected not to have full coverage, we're going to go ahead and just insure you. Never in your life. You never will. Your house burned down. You had a lapse. You were canceled, not renewed. We're going to go ahead and just insure you and make you whole. Don't hold your breath. We're going to make you whole. And you just saw how all those people had all that money. All that money was sitting up there. What? Uninsured. But see, it was who has the money. There's a whole different game at the top. But see, when you're on that hamster wheel, you can't see it. And as I said before, and I think I put this on Patreon, it's a good thing to keep you on that hamster wheel, because if you get too many people off that hamster wheel and they really start to see things as they really are, what's really going on behind the scenes, behind the paperwork, behind the smiles, you're going to realize what's going on is very ugly. What's going on is, and especially for the B side, I want you to hear this, okay? Because I know when we hear information coming from somebody that looks like us, we discount it. You might be slow, sweetie. I'm not. A lot of us aren't. Now, I want to say many of us aren't, but a lot of us are, okay? Because how we're operating on slowness. It's stuff like this here you don't see. But then when you want to play the game of getting ahead, whole new set of rules. You got to follow this, dot, 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 dot. Well, newsflash, when you're at the top and there's money, you can break the rules all day long. And that's how you hear about people, how they get that money? They didn't get that money by working overtime on their job. Some of the things I hear people say in the BC, it blows my mind. You think you think. That's how a lot of people don't get it. What happens on Main Street and Wall Street are two different things. And if you don't know, you should know that Wall Street is protected. And what I mean by that, the top money. They operate differently. Favors. How can this go about? Favors changing hands. So again, he misappropriated, allegedly, hundreds of millions of dollars in fraudulently obtained money. Where do you get that money from? The 5 and dime store? You think he stole it while they weren't looking? No, the power of the pen. You know what redlining is, right? And that's the way to keep you from getting money. Oh, we got to slow that down. That area's been redlined. Yeah, we don't want to put any money there. I don't know about that. Oh, you're going to need more paperwork, just like it is in these, when they do the housing deals, when they're like trying to evaluate property, they see it's black owned. All of a sudden, it's worth $100,000 less, $500,000 less. Oh, a white person involved, it's worth $500,000 more. You think? The paperwork. They're operating differently. There's had to be some favors. How could he qualify? Let's say it came from the bank. I mean, where else would it come from? Or a business deal? If they checked him out and the assets didn't line up, how could he get it? No, sometimes them against people getting favors. Look the other way. And then it goes through. Oh, I know him. Oh, okay. I know him. And boom, there it goes. Make it happen. And he gets the money and he can invest it and boom, 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 and build up for his group, for his family, for himself. You can steal a lot more money than with a pen, than with a gun. Little TT or Dusty Dan Jr. or little hombre from the border, you with your little stick 'em up routine, you can't catch up with these guys on the screen. Never catch up. They've mastered the art. And do you think they just showing up going, oh, let these deals go through and I'm going to say thank you? Yeah, one thing the hood doesn't understand, one hand washes the other. Yeah. One hand washes the other. This guy helped that guy, all in a circle. But see, that would never work with us because we're so used to, we want to take. Give me. I'm going to take. I want to show it with my hand out. Even if the BC had this formula, it would never work. No. Number one, we would be doing extra trying to make sure that the person doesn't get the money. See, this kind of game, I do believe, and again, it's my opinion, one hand washes the other, everybody coming up. It might be fraudulently, but everybody coming up. You can't do this on your own. Somebody doing some finessing behind closed doors. And then out of all of that, a fire happens. What do you think, people? No, coincidentally, a fire happens. Why would he set fire to his own place? Maybe that's where the records are. And I don't mean just file paperwork. No, the bank has that. The records, maybe that's where the evidence is kept in us. It could be in a safe, on a USB. All of a sudden, a fire occurs. You already know once they arrest him, they're going to go through that whole place. They're going to go through the whole dwelling. Turn it upside down, they will. You think he didn't know that? Ergo, coincidentally, that's probably why the fire happened in his apartment. Jeez, what's their evidence? So they got their little hands on Gawwwd Kwok. They said he has 7 other aliases. Oh my goodness, really? It could be Gawwwd Tyrone, got the money and gone. Gawwwd Dusty Dan, I got the money, understand? 7 other aliases. So sometimes you see all this money, all this wealth. They know how to work together, even fraud. Again, why do you think the apartment's set on fire? It's common sense. Might be some information in there. Linking him to somebody else big time. I don't mean some street corner dude. No, linking him to somebody else in a higher position. And he doesn't care whether that whole place catches on fire. That's probably his preference. He doesn't care about other people if they lose their homes. Doesn't care. Worried about himself. So what a coinky-dink. He gets arrested by the feds again on wire fraud, securities fraud, bank fraud, money laundering, misappropriating hundreds of millions of dollars in what? It said fraudulently obtained money. You must have lied to get it. Fraudulently. So he obtained hundreds of millions of dollars in fraudulently obtained money. Let me guess, using those other 7 other aliases. And think of the wealth he's able to amass the wealth, then grow it. And the apartment where he resides, where he was arrested, just happened to catch on fire. Catch on fire. You think? This video, Mr. Wong going wrong. I just saw another video where he has, I guess this might be a second alias, and it's Gawwwd, Billionaire. A fire breaks out in his NYC apartment just after the feds arrive. Want to put him in handcuffs. So how is this wealth obtained? All through fraud. You're looking at it on the screen, and when the feds show up, they haven't made a mistake. Nah, they probably been watching your boy for years. It's not a mistake. They've been watching him for years. So you sitting in an apartment on fire, that might bring some new charges, and that's probably why. Let's say, I can't say that he did it, but let's just say it caught on fire. Someone did. That might bring some new charges, maybe a little bit more than they may find out more. So that's a way to try to stop it. Set it on fire. Somebody put it on fire. Well, all I can say is Gawwwd Kwok. With the feds, you got God. Now, is he going to make a deal, put out some other names? That remains to be seen. But look at this. He gets arrested, and the apartment later catches on fire. How interesting. And look at the charges. You know how we say, he a fraud to each other? Man, the biggest fraud are the folks that you see on the screens with these financial frauds. Not somebody on YouTube that you don't like. No, this is the fraud. The fraud right now, if you ask me, is this bailout of SVB. Why have the rules? The rules can be changed any want. We saw this with SVB. There will not be a bailout. Isn't that what Janet Yellen said, not to bail out? Sweetie, it's a bailout. Again, how was he able to fraudulently obtain hundreds of millions of dollars? Did the paperwork work out? Was he lying? Okay, if he was lying, did anyone check it out? Nobody could connect the dots? He's already got the money then. Put it to an average American or a black person, and yes, it's my opinion, they're going to check everything just to make sure. Before you get it, check everything. Let me go back on page 10. Did he forgot to dot that I? 7 other aliases. Again, I'm willing to bet you he had some help. Somebody helping out. Yeah. It could be a red flag and somebody look the other way. Anyway, let me know what you all think. So he's arrested on federal charges, and then the apartment catches on fire. And look at the charges. I got 7 aliases. Wire fraud, securities fraud, bank fraud, money laundering. How do you get in all this? Rules can change. We just saw the rules change last week. Rules change this week. The rules can change, and that's how a lot of people come up, like your boy on the screen. So much for the hard work. He did the hard work. He did the hard work. No. Mr. Wong, it sounds like the Fed got you in handcuffs. You do the hard work, all right, lifting that money up. You do the hard fraud. He did the fraud. He did the fraud. Ridiculous. And of course, you all know when these things happen, they fall apart. You know, you should be concerned. Oh, I don't care about that. Well, guess what? When this crap happens and it fall apart, who you think is picking up the tab? Who you think is paying for SVB? Any government money does taxpayer dollars. What does the government work? Seriously. The government is the money of the people, the taxpayer dollars. Where does the money come from? So when these things like this happen, and if a bank is in trouble, who do you think is going to be picking up that tab? It's not going to be Mr. Wong or his brother. No. Taxpayer. Yeah. When things like this happen and they get in trouble and look for a bailout, it's coming from Zaddy. And Zaddy holding that purse, he got the wallet with all of our money. That's the part that sickens me. All of our money. The taxpayers. Anyway, let me know what you all think if you're trading. I hope you have a happy, successful trading day. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and share. Again, this is an example of what? Mr. Wong doing wrong. And I'm out. Simply Said here on YouTube. Thanks for watching.